me some ice. Skin me a peach and save the fuzz for my pillow. Bolt me a proms, talk to me nice. You got to wine me and dine me. I'm getting hungry. Peel me a grape.
I'm Laura Bonicelli, owner of Solo by Bonicelli, a fresh meal delivery service serving the Twin Cities area. My menus always feature fresh, local, organic, and seasonal foods, and my favorite place to start shopping, the Mpls Farmers Market. Well, I have been shopping all over the market, and now I'm going to visit Minnesota herb lady Bonnie Dehn. So, and you started here at what age?
I was down here at 5 years old.
5 years old?
Yes.
And what year did your family farm start?
Well, Grandpa used to have a stall down here. He was over there on row 4. My parents had a stall here, and they've been here since 1950. And my Uncle George had a stall here too. So it's a family affair. Vegetable growing is just not one generation. In our case, it's 4 for me, 5 for my children.
And how many of your children are here? Daughters, right?
Daughters. We have 2 daughters, and they both are married, and they both come to Farmers Market. They work at the family farm. It is truly a true family farm.
And son-in-laws too. I was talking to your husband, and he was saying that the angled parking
that
we have here now at the market, it was his idea.
It was Matt's idea. Yes, yeah. So he's very aware of what goes on at the farmers market and has passion for it, just like the rest of the family does.
Well, I love the angled parking. So, did you see a shift at some point when people started cooking with fresh herbs? Because I grew up with a mother that had a jar of parsley flakes, and that was pretty much it. So, when did people start cooking with fresh herbs?
I remember when we started, there was an interest in dill, which is the dill weed, plus the Scandinavian, Minnesota, and then also the dill for dill pickles. So we grew a lot of that at the first onset, and that was back in the 1979. And then pretty soon we picked up on basil. Basil was popular in just the early 80s. And then pretty soon rosemary started in, and parsleys. And it was not just the parsleys. When we first started bunching parsley, we used to arrange them in a bouquet. And it was beautiful. I mean, they weren't very big, but they were beautiful bunches. And nowadays it's grab and go kind of thing. You just grab a bunch, put a rubber band on it. But the curl parsley was the popular thing. Italian parsley, flatleaf, didn't show up for a few years later. And then chives. With the garden spaces that people were accustomed to outdoors and planting their own, they didn't have the time nor the energy during the 80s and 90s and even early 2000s to go back to gardening and doing it themselves. So that's where the cut bunches went and started to be a great sale for us. But the core of your business. The core of the business. But there is also the fact that all of these plants, people are going back to gardening, they're going back to the earth, if you will. And so the idea of taking the herb plants and sticking in their own garden, whether they survive or not, they still enjoy them. That's the key. Yes.
Exactly. Well, I love these plants. They're beautiful. And I see a lot of friends growing herbs who never would have done it before.
Yes.
But for me, I still buy herbs and grow herbs. So today I'm making a dish with kohlrabi, which you were talking about on your show.
Yeah.
Great show, by the way. What I'm going to do is roast it and toss it with some wild rice, and then serve it chilled with a vinaigrette.
Oh,
so
that sounds really
Can you give me
nice.
an herb recommendation for that?
With that, you want something you can go with either the basil, which gives you a sweeter taste, but I would try savory, which has a fresh ground pepper flavor, especially with the roasted kohlrabi. It's going to add just a new dimension. So savory with maybe even garlic chives.
Okay, savory. I have a question for you. Have you ever heard of lovage?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Would you use lovage with something like that?
You can use lovage with it, but it's very strong in the celery flavor. It may overpower your kohlrabi, because kohlrabi is going to be a lighter, cabbagey, sweeter flavor.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm definitely going with savory. So should I buy a plant or should I buy a cut? Or both?
I would do Of course I'm going to say both, that way you have a plant and you have the one right now, but I would do the bunch so that you know what it's, if you're not familiar with it, you can taste it. Try it with some other things. It's excellent with green beans, it's excellent with new potatoes. Try it with different recipes, see if you really, it's acceptable to your taste buds, and then go with it from there.
Right, well, it's a new herb for me, so
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, I'm back in the kitchen, and what a great day at the farmer's market. Everything I am using today I got there, including the wild rice, which is what I'm going to start with. I'm taking 1.5 cups of wild rice. I got this from Scenic Waters Wild Rice Company. 1.5 cups of rice, and I'm going to cover this with 3 to 4 inches of cold water and bring it to a boil and drain it. I'm going to repeat that process twice. The third time I fill it with cold water, 3 to 4 inches above the rice. I'm going to bring it to a boil and let it go for about 15 minutes until the rice starts to open. It should be just perfect. Okay, so I'm going to get that done, and then we're going to peel our kohlrabi. This is kohlrabi. As you can see, it has these little shoots coming off of it, which we are going to cut off. Kohlrabi is a member of the cabbage family. It is rich in potassium and vitamin C, and it really does, if you eat it raw, taste a lot like cabbage, and often you'll see it in slaws and that type of thing. I, however, today am going to roast it and toss it in a salad. The best kohlrabi are the smaller ones. About this size is absolutely perfect, and I'm just using a little vegetable peeler here to go around. The skin gets a little tough, that's why I'm taking it off. But they're nice and tender when they are smaller, and they get a little woody as they get bigger. So I would look for ones that are about this size or just a little larger. So I am going to peel all of these, and then I'm going to dice some of them, and some I'm going to do in chunks for our roasting pan. I did a small dice of about 1/2 cup of kohlrabi, which I'm going to saute with some shredded carrot and onion in a little bit. But right now I am chopping up into cubes, about 1-inch cubes, the rest of my kohlrabi. I'm going to end up with about, I would say, 4 cups. And remember to always work with flat surfaces when you're doing things like this that are round, so that you can not cut your fingers. The other thing I got at the farmer's market that I think I'm going to pair this with on my solo menu is bar 5, and I think it was chicken, jalapeno, and cheddar bratwurst. And I think that will go perfectly with the wild rice and the kohlrabi roasted. Okay, last one here. Just get it nice and cubed into my bowl. And then I'm going to do what I almost always do when I roast vegetables, is a little salt and pepper and olive oil, and toss them in a pan. And I'm going to put them in a 400-degree oven, and they're going to roast. These actually take a little while to do. It's probably going to be about 45 minutes. And here's my kosher salt. And my favorite part, just get my hands in there. Okay, perfect. Into my roasting pan. And then, while these are roasting, I'm going to dice up my carrots, or excuse me, my onions, and I'm going to shred my carrots. Now these absolutely gorgeous green onions, or some people would call them a spring onion, I also got at the market. They are all over the place. They're kind of large, so I'm going to chop them up like that. I need about 1/2 cup of these as well. I'm adding about 1 cup of grated carrot to the dish because I wanted to get a little more color in it and a little more texture and hopefully a little sweetness. And I was actually very surprised to see carrots this early at the Mpls Farmers Market, but there they were, and they were straight from the farm. So into our pan, a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. We're just going to let that heat up and swirl it around a little bit. And I'm putting in our diced kohlrabi and onion and shredded carrot. And just to lightly saute those for about 4 or 5 minutes. These look and smell perfect. So I'm going to turn the heat up on this a little bit. And I'm going to add in roughly 1/2 cup, maybe a little more, of white wine. And what that is going to do is it's going to give it this just lovely richness. So I'm going to cook this off at that high heat, and then we'll add a little salt and pepper. Now just a little salt and pepper, because this is really a first seasoning, I would call it, just to bring up a little bit of the flavor, but we will be doing this again later when we get the whole dish put together. Okay, I'm going to set this aside to cool, and I can smell that our kohlrabi is about to come out of the oven. I mixed together a little vinaigrette, which is just a 1/4 cup of white wine vinegar and 3/4 of a cup of olive oil and a little salt and pepper, and I just whisked it together, and that will be our dressing. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking that beautiful savory that I bought from Bob Dehn on Bonnie Dehn's recommendation for this salad, and I am just taking the leaves and I'm going to just quickly rough chop them. They're going to go right into the salad, so I want them to have a little texture left to them. Perfect. Okay, now I'll start putting this together. In goes my carrot mixture first, my kohlrabi and onion, shredded carrots, beautiful color. Great. And next, we're going to take that savory and put that right in there. This is actually going to be quite colorful. Very nice. And now, our kohlrabi, which smells spicy and nutty. We'll give that a little toss. And then finally we're going to add in our dressing, and I made enough dressing to actually use later, so I'm not going to put the whole thing in. Important thing is to whisk this up, because the salt and pepper goes to the bottom and the olive oil and vinegar separate. So, okay, so we do that. We give that a nice generous pour. I'm going to use about half of it, I think. Okay. All right. That is that. So toss this up really well, like so, and a little final salt and pepper to bring the flavor up. Toss there. Perfect. Okay. Just a little taste, just to make sure we're in the ballpark here. That is delicious. Okay, I'm ready to plate. Just kind of want to make sure that I get enough of my kohlrabi on the plate. And I'm going to leave some white space for this so I can use my savory to garnish. And this can be served room temperature or chilled down. Either way will work. And you might want to include a little dressing on the side, just in case someone wants more. Okay, and then my savory, whoops. There we go, my savory garnish. That is absolutely gorgeous. Thank you, Mpls Farmers Market. Thank you, Bonnie Dehn and Dehn's Family Gardens, and Park Boutique for the always fabulous wardrobe. Bon appetito!